Right. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
Good, good, Big O. It's Friday. How are you?
Yes, it's Friday. It's Friday, you bastards. I doubt you remember that from the Neil Rogers show. You were really young when he
I
would play that drop.
I remember Neil, but yeah, I don't remember that
Yeah, he had a
specific line.
drop on Fridays that he would.
Yeah,
It's Friday, you bastards. He would throw that. It was just like a voice like that too. It was
yeah,
actually pretty funny. Heat Spurs tonight. One of the things, and it's preseason. I don't put a
right.
ton of weight on it. I don't really care. Well, I rarely care about the regular season. Let's be honest.
hmm
Um, but one of the things that I loved about the offseason was Thomas Bryant. And I thought you needed depth at that position badly last year. We all know that, and I think you have actually quality depth this year at that position. And to me, Thomas Bryant was exactly what I expected him to be because as a fantasy player, I've had to use Thomas Bryant at times. I'll sneak him in for, filling in for an injured player one night or something, or knowing that somebody's out and he's going to fill in. I know what kind of player he is. He's a really good role player, man. I love that addition, and he showed his wares the other night.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about depth at the center spot behind Bam this year. You have Thomas Bryant. You have Orlando Robinson, who's better than last year. You
Damn
have
right.
Kevin Love, who could play some center minutes as well if he need to stretch the floor. And all three of those guys can stretch the floor. They could all hit, shoot, take, and make threes at a respectable rate. But specifically Thomas Bryant, yeah, you saw the skill set that intrigued the Heat this offseason in that preseason opener, especially offensively. He's skilled offensively. He can hit the three, like we just said. He has good post moves, good footwork. Is a really good finisher on the basket throughout his whole career. Can
Tough guy.
finish. Tough guy. Plays physical. Plays with energy. 7 of 7 from the line. And look, the Heat are going to ask him if it looks like he's the backup center for now. The Heat are going to ask him to play 12 to 15 minutes. It's like just go out there, leave it all, empty the tank, and do what you do. I think the question with him is defensively. You would think he'd be a good defender because he's physical. He plays with energy, but you look at the analytics. He's actually one of the worst defenders in the NBA based on the numbers, based on the metrics, and that's why he really hasn't found a consistent role in the NBA yet. He's kind of moved around a lot.
He's
He
a
was in
decent
Denver last year.
rebounder. He's a
He's a
decent
good
rebounder.
rebounder. He's actually a really good defensive rebounder, so that's a good thing. I think it's I honestly I haven't watched him closely enough yet. We've only seen one preseason game to kind of know what the issues are defensively. I'm kind of wondering the same thing, but the numbers say he is not a good defender. So that's going to be the big question. We know he could fit offensively, and to a certain extent, that's kind of what the Heat needed, right? Because their offense was not good last year. So to have a center who could actually score some points when Bam's on the bench is a good thing. But I think the thing to watch for is his defense. Can he hold up on that end of the court, and can Eric Spoelstra trust him for 15 minutes a game? We'll
Yeah,
see about that.
yeah. No, that's interesting because I'm looking at most of his career. 4 years in Washington. They don't really teach you defense there. He only played 18 games in Denver and played 41 games for the Lakers. So it's hard to get a rhythm
Right.
in all of that. And I I've watched this guy. I think he will turn out to be a good defender because he's a tough guy. He's an effort guy. I think he's a heat guy. To be quite
hmm
honest, watching him over the years, I I think it's going to change here. I think he hasn't been in the environment that actually teaches you fundamentally how to play defense on a consistent basis. I think he's going to get that here. I don't think he's had that foundation. That's what I
I
think it
think
is.
I think that's what the Heat are banking on, right? They know we know
That's
that the
what,
Heat drill defense.
yeah.
I think you've kind of seen a turn actually in recent years where they're like, give me a guy with an offensive skill set because we really, it's hard to teach that, and we could make them a solid defender, or at least a respectable defender that can hold up and play, that
Right.
we could trust. So I think that's what they're banking on with Thomas Bryant. Like you said, he plays physical, he's high energy, he's athletic, like should be at least a decent defender. So we'll see. I mean, the preseason opener was really encouraging. I mean, Eric Spoelstra mentioned after the game, like we needed to fill that. That was a need we needed to fill, and they feel like batting Thomas Bryant, they helped fill that need. They are outscored by 4 points per 100 possessions with Bam on the bench last year. That with all the close games that he played last season, that was the backup center spot cost them probably at least
Oh God, yes,
maybe
yes.
10 games. I mean, if you just have a guy who just breaks even when he's out there, when Bam's on the bench, they probably win 5, 6 more games last regular season.
And the bull crap that they pulled last year, putting Caleb at power forward, you also wore the kid out too physically, and you got him out of his game, and he didn't go play his game,
Right.
and that hurt your team too because you saw what Caleb could be playing his game and how much better you are. But such a piss poor effort last year to get power forwards and centers that it just puts you in a terrible position. Which they attacked it this year.
Mm-hmm.
They this year that wasn't going to happen to them again. And sure enough, they got plenty of size now, dude. And I think the Thomas Bryant thing is going to change completely. I
Yeah.
really do. I think he's going to be a solid defender, actually. Not all right or half decent or a slight improvement. No, no. I think he's going to be a good defender when it's all said and done because he's got the heart. He's got the determination.
Right.
He's a tough guy. He's an effort guy. He's a heat guy. I've watched this guy I'm a fantasy basketball player, so you watch the whole league when you're a fantasy basketball player, and I'm telling you, Thomas Bryant fits the Miami Heat. I love that pickup, dude. That was one I really enjoyed. I think he'll work out. By the way, your boy Cole Swider was
I was thinking about that.
was swishing the other night. That was nice. That was nice.
No, he could definitely shoot the ball. I think that's pretty obvious, right? It's kind of like the same questions with Duncan. Can he play defense? Can he stay on the court? Is he going to be played off? Can he do some other things? I mean, Duncan has had to spend years trying to develop other areas of his game to counter.
But he's longer.
He's a couple inches taller. Yes.
Yeah, and longer. So I love him as a stretch four.
Yeah.
And it's because you only had Love to do that kind of stuff.
It's just I don't know. We'll see if he could defend power forwards in this league. That's going to be
okay.
Tough.
You are correct.
Yeah.
But situationally.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of a half, at the end of a game,
you're down by 10 points. You need some points. You need to score. You put him in there.
Dude.
Gets hot. Yeah.
You put him on the floor with a couple of real defenders, but he's a stretch guy. And so it's something that Jimmy can really benefit from. That all of a sudden you've got Duncan on one corner and Swider on the other. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead, pick your sweat. Come on, let's go. Double me up. Wham! I'm finding the open guy. So you're right. It would be nice if he adds defense to it, but that's really not in his repertoire as it is.
I don't think he'll ever be a great defender. Obviously, it's like Duncan, where like you can only hope that he's just a serviceable defender. He can hold it.
Whereas with Brian, I have a completely different attitude and outlook for him. I think he will be a good role player and a very good defender for them overall. Not a great one, not Bam or anything, but he's going to do his job. I think you're going to go, wow, this guy can play, he can rebound, he can defend, because he's going to have the environment to be able to do that. I think with Cole, I think what you did, you added another sharpshooter.
Yeah, and they needed that. They need that. Yeah.
All sharpshooter.
Yeah, 6'9".
You desperately needed because if Kevin Love is in foul trouble, then that gives you one less option where you can have a stretch 4-5. Now all of a sudden with Cole out there, you got Cole, Duncan, and Love out there. If you wanted at the end of a final possession. That would be pretty cool with let's say
next to Bam and Jimmy, right?
Exactly. Bam and Jimmy, two facilitators and two ball handlers.
Two guys that take it into the paint relentlessly. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the thing I love about Cole is that even if he doesn't completely become a complete player, he is a weapon they didn't have, and then Thomas Bryant fills another need. See, that's what I like. What they did, they clearly saw what they didn't have last year and said, we're not doing that again. And they went and got it. And this team is deeper and more complete, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think a lot of people kind of raised their eyebrows when Eric Spoelstra last week said, I think we're deeper than we were last year.
Yes.
After losing Max and Gabe, but adding, Jay Rich and Thomas Bryant, those were really your own big additions. But it's like more positional depth, right? Like it's depth, like functional depth, where you have now like 2 or 3 power forwards you could turn to. You have
Right.
3 centers you could turn to that you wouldn't blink an eye. You didn't have that last year. I guess the only position that you're thin at is point guard. But
Right. Ball
this
handling is, dude, I'm not worried about the points you lost.
right.
The points you lost will be replaced. The only thing I'm concerned about was the ball handling you lost from Gabe
Yeah.
Vincent and
Right.
the creation that you lost. And it's not a ton of creation that Gabe does, but at least it's something important behind Lowry. That's the only
Yeah.
area I don't know if you've replaced,
We'll
but the
see.
rest of the team will be better actually than
Yeah.
they were last year.
They're hoping that Jay Rich can take on some of that ball handling duties. We'll see,
Right.
right? If he can create some, he's a slasher. He could take some of the pressure off of Jimmy and Bam with the ball in his hands. And obviously, you still have Tyler Hero, you still have Jimmy and Bam who are gonna have the ball in their hands a lot. This team really doesn't use a natural point guard. We've said it a lot, right? Even when Kyle was in there in that starting lineup, he was just standing there. A lot of times it was Tyler with the ball in his hands, and that's why Kyle wasn't a good fit for that starting group. He didn't take any shots because he wasn't being used as a point guard really. He was being used as a spot up shooter. So what we've seen is with this roster, they don't need a true point guard. Um, but it's nice to have the depth of if you need one. Like Gabe, you have Gabe and Kyle, two point guards you could turn to kind of run the offense. But this year they really don't have that luxury.
Is there, as a writer, have you already targeted any teams with an extra point guard that could trade? Because I haven't. I
It's
haven't.
early.
I haven't even. Yeah, I haven't even
Yeah,
gotten into my fantasy
yeah.
draft, bro. So it's
It's
like
early.
I'm just wondering if so. You haven't thought of it yet. Okay.
No, I mean,
All right.
I think I want to see. I think obviously the Heat are going to see what this roster can do, how it looks, right? And then a couple months down the road, if they feel like they need another ball handler, they'll probably address it, right? We've talked about Goran. Goran is still out there. I know he wants to join the Heat, but I don't think that's likely right now. Kendrick Nunn is another guy, but it's just the market's dried up right now. There's not many guys out there. I guess we'll
Anybody
see
in
who gets.
Europe? Anybody in Europe that we are overlooking that could be out there?
I mean, Kendrick Nunn might be playing in Europe soon. I think he has an offer from a European team.
I just think he's so inconsistent. I don't think the Heat will bring him
Yeah,
back.
it's just I don't think at this point anybody you get that's a free agent is not going to play much. You're not going to be able to rely on them. You know, there's a reason why they still haven't been signed by a team. I guess maybe a point guard could become available on cutdown day in a week, right? When teams have to trim their rosters and maybe some guys get cut that are surprising. Maybe the Heat like them and bring them in. We'll see. But right now, even if they do that, I still feel like they're going to go with the rotation of Kyle as whether it's a starting point guard or backup point guard, and then just Jay Rich, Tyler Hero, Bam, Jimmy, kind of all handling. We even saw Jaime Jaquez
I
with the
love
ball
him,
in his
bro.
hands a lot,
I
right? Like
love him, bro.
he could play a little bit of point guard kind
He's
of. So
super
it's
crafty, bro. He's
yeah,
super
he's
freaking
skilled.
crafty.
He's skilled. You could tell he's a 4-year college guy because he does not look like a rookie.
Smart, man. I love
No,
players like that. I think he's gonna play. That's the guy I didn't want to trade in
right?
the not
No,
that
they
I
look
was gonna
good.
tell you, oh no trade for Lillard.
Right,
Of
right.
course
But
you
you'd
make
rather
a trade
not.
no
You'd
matter
rather
what.
not. Yeah.
But I was like, no, go ahead, take Jovic, bro. You could take Jovic. I give me Jaquez because I love smart players and crafty players. And I just think he's going to be better than what we even imagined this year. I think I'm going to tell you something crazy. With the Jimmy injuries that are coming and the games missed, I think Jaime Jaquez is
Jimmy
going
2.0.
yeah, I think him and Caleb are really
Yeah.
going to explode this year. And you're going to see a beautiful 1-2 punch from those guys. And the other thing you talked about, there's a lot of part time ball handlers.
Mm-hmm.
So Caleb can do a little bit of it, and Josh can do a little bit of it, and Jaquez can do a little bit of it, and then Kyle. And I think it's going to be spread around with a couple of
Yeah,
different
I agree.
people.
I
You know
agree.
what I mean? But when you have a Jaquez and a Caleb in there, in that lineup, I just think these are guys that are going to be able to feed off of each other, actually. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a competition to who's going to get more minutes. I think these guys are going to be a really terrific 1-2 punch on those nights that Jimmy Butler is out because he's resting or he's got some kind of, knick-knack, whatever it is. You and I know he's not going to play,
Oh no, I played around
78.
60 games or something like that,
Yeah,
I would say.
60. Yeah.
Yeah.
He ain't even
Yeah.
gonna play 70.
No.
So I just really maybe I have too much high hopes for Jaquez, but from everything I've seen from this kid in the offseason and watching his UCLA stuff,
Yeah.
that's what took me to the next level. When I watch his UCLA stuff, this is a complete player, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was impressive, and they have a lot of. That's gonna be an interesting thing is they have a lot of different lineups they could turn to, different types of lineups. They can play
Yes,
small, they can play big, they can play a bunch of shooters out there, they could play a bunch of guys who make twos. Like they can play double bigs with Bam and Thomas Bryant because Thomas Bryant can hit threes, or
that's right.
Bam and Orlando Robinson. I don't think it's going to happen much, but it's an option. So Eric Spoelstra has a lot of different types of lineups, combinations he could turn to. It's going to be really interesting to see how he handles the rest of the preseason. It kind of tests all that stuff out if Jimmy is available at some point this preseason. But we'll see in the regular season how he deals with it. But I'm interested. Like Jaime looked really good. He really did, and I was impressed. I was not surprised because I knew he was going to be a little bit ahead of most rookies. I knew he was skilled, and the footwork, we've talked about it all summer. He's really advanced in that area. We saw a movie put on Gordon Hayward, right? That
Right.
was, I mean, Gordon Hayward's a veteran, and he's a above average defender. And Jaime put him in the spin cycle. Like
Telling you, man.
that was impressive. But the question I have with
But did
Jaime
you
is,
watch him in UCLA?
yeah,
He
no,
was
he did
doing.
that. No, I know, but still, to do that against a veteran like
Yeah,
Gordon Hayward in your
yeah.
first NBA game, man, like that was like eye opening. But the question I have with Jaime is how does he? Because Jimmy and Caleb didn't play right that game, so Jaime and obviously it's preseason. At the end, Jaime had the ball in his hands pretty much the entire fourth quarter, running pick and rolls. That's not going to be his role most of the time,
No,
especially in
no,
lineups with
no.
Bam and Jimmy. He's
Right.
going to have to hit threes. So to me, how much he plays, yes, he's good in other areas. It's still going to depend when everyone's available on if he could make threes. Because if he can't space the floor, you're not going to be able to play him with Bam and Jimmy.
Well, but
Um,
remember, he can space the floor, but he can also put the ball on the floor to help
yeah,
create for others.
he
And
can for sure.
I think that that's a weapon in itself because once you start proving that you're a scorer, then they've got to defend you. Once they got to defend you, then that's when you start becoming a creator also. Because
Mm-hmm.
then that's when you can put the ball on the floor and create for Jimmy or Caleb or anybody else. And again, this is why I liked it. I love this draft pick from the get go because he's just a savvy dude. And I don't think you teach that kind of stuff. I think either you have it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And he has it, bro. I'm telling you, I really like this team. I only worry about the ball handling. I do not worry at all about losing the two guys you lost. You're going to replace those points. This
Yeah.
team's going to be fun. Today's like nobody playing, right? It's
Nobody
all
went to
the
San
young guys.
Antonio, not even me. 9 players stayed back, and most of I think the only like rotation guys for guys that are projected to make the rotation that are available tonight are Duncan and Haywood. I think. Everyone else
That's
is pretty
another one
much
we
like.
don't talk about. We don't talk about Highsmith.
That's what I
Highsmith
was gonna say. I was about to
is
bring him
another
up. He
guy that
looked
I think
good.
is going
Yeah,
to come under the. That's another guy that I think is going to improve again,
he's
bro.
gonna have a big role this season. I think.
Yeah,
He's one of the guys that if you ask me, a guy that's gonna surprise this year or is gonna like have a breakout season, Haywood would be a guy that I would bring up because his shooting has gotten better. He's obviously we know a good defender, a versatile defender who kind of fits in the Heat system. He's a good rebounder. He just seems to fit with what the Heat want to do around Bam and Jimmy.
smart,
Smart,
tough,
yeah. He's gonna have to play a lot
disciplined.
of minutes.
I mature. I mean, he's got it all, dude. He's
Yeah,
got it all, man. He just obviously you got to just turn into the player, but all the ingredients to become a good player, Highsmith has it by miles and miles. That's why I'm going to watch the game because I kind of like, I like Jamal Kane. I like the young
yeah.
guys.
See Cole Swider shoot
Close
threes.
Slider, right?
Cole
I
Swider maybe
yeah,
lineups with Duncan and Cole because Duncan will
yeah,
be available. That would be fun to watch, right? Like that. It's
yeah,
always there's always something to look for in these
yeah.
games.
I'm the geek that watches summer league, bro,
Yeah,
because these guys have made me now care about summer league and care about the preseason to the sense of, hey, who you got? Who's new? That kind of stuff. You want to know, not because the games mean anything or anything
no, of
like that,
course.
but it's about the talent. And there's some young guys there that I'm really looking forward to. All right, are we dealing with any kind of serious injuries at all on the team?
It doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
I guess the one that I question whether he'll be available for the start of the regular season is Jaime, only because he's strained his groin, and we know that takes 4 weeks, probably 4 to 6 weeks. I would say, like a strain growing, it takes a little bit to recover from that, and that just happened this week. And the regular season is less than 2 weeks away. He might not be ready for the start of the regular season. We haven't gotten a timetable yet, but just based on the history of strain growings, I'm assuming that it's very questionable whether he'll be ready for day one. So that's unfortunate. But Caleb looks like he's on his way back soon. He practiced pretty much fully yesterday, participating in the scrimmage and practice. Nikola Jovic, they got good news on him. When he went to the doctor for that knee injury he suffered in the preseason opener, just a contusion. So it seems he's day to day. Probably be back, and he said he expects to be back in a couple of days. We'll see, but doesn't seem serious. Jimmy's out because of a dental procedure tonight. So that shouldn't take too long to recover from. I'm trying to think, is there anybody? Those are the main guys who are kind of dealing with stuff. I think Jay Rich has some foot discomfort, but he seemed fine. He participated in part of practice yesterday too, so it just seems like a precaution thing. Preseason, why push it? So the good news is none of the injuries seem major. The only questionable one I would point to is Jaime, that he might not be ready for the regular season because of a strain growing. Those are tricky.
I don't know if I did I end up asking him if he did his homework there, Sean, on Jermaine Stewart? No, right? Did you finally watch that video?
I forgot. I'm sorry. I have to watch it. That's my fault, Big O. By next week, I promise you, I will watch the video.
How'd you become a writer, bro? Did you do your homework in school?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm too busy doing my daughter's homework these days when she comes home from school.
Oh, God. How old is she?
She's 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kindergarten. It's not, but still, it's like this is the first year she has homework every day. So
I got to tell you, once my daughter got to like 6th or 7th grade, you know that show, Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?
Yeah.
There's a reason why they did that show. Because I found out that I'm not smarter than a 5th grader. Because once my daughter got to like 6th or 7th grade, hey, can you help me with this? No, I can't.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. You got a luck.
No, I can't. What?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. I'm like, holy crap, I forgot about all this. I don't know anything. And by the way, just for the record, school was a hell of a lot harder for my daughter than it was for me, dude.
Yeah, it gets harder.
I gotta say, I coasted through school. I mean, coasted. Okay, my senior year, I had 3 requirements. No, 2. I had 4 electives. My senior year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay. 2. You had English, and I think it
math. Some math.
No. Wait a minute. I had 2.5. I'm glad you reminded me. I had 2.5. You know why? I was terrible at math. Once they added the X's and the Y's and all that shit, I'm out. I am the best at regular math, like plus, minus, division, subtraction.
Stuff you actually use in real life.
Percentage, shit that you use. I can do that in my head like faster than my wife, and she's a math teacher, okay? Mm-hmm. But so I remember my senior year, it was English, and I want to say history, and then I had to take half a year of pre-algebra.
Wow.
That's what it was, because I was forced to take pre-algebra. The other half of the year, I took business math, which is, baby.
Yeah. That's the real stuff right there.
Kick that ass, baby, business math. And so that's it. The rest were...
And no science? No, it wasn't a science?
No, science was like, I think it was only history or science. I forgot which one it was, but it was back then in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Life was a little different, and we only had a couple of requirements our senior year, okay? And math was not one of them, which was so awesome. I only had it for half a year. After that, business math is not even considered math for me. I was just like, I could do that with, my eyes closed. I didn't even need to see the numbers. But
so you enjoyed your senior year. You had a good senior year.
Yeah. So I don't know, bro. Once your daughter gets a little older, boy, she's going to come to you with that homework. You're going to go, boy, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
I could write a Heat story for you if you want, but that's about it. You're interested in Cole Swider?
That's it. So I tell my daughter, she looks at me like, what do you do? Now she's older and she's figured it out, but she's like, 8 or 10 or 14 or 16. Well, I'm watching sports. Okay, it's my job. What? It's like she didn't get it. You know what I mean? It's like, Dad's a joke. Like, she probably goes to school like My dad's a fireman. My dad's a lawyer. My dad's a doctor.
Yeah.
My dad's some idiot that watches
He watches
sports.
sports for a living. Yeah.
That's it. I don't know. I just see him talk on a mic or something in his room. I think he's talking to himself or something, teacher. I have no idea. All these kids have great fathers. My dad's some loser that just watches games.
No. Come on. Give ourselves more credit than that.
No,
we're providing an outlet for people who are stressed.
A
that need
12-year-old
something else,
does not even
distraction.
think that. A 12-year-old never thinks about that, bro.
My daughter has no interest in sports. All she asks is every time there's a game on, doesn't matter what game is on, baseball, hockey, who's winning? Like she cares, like she knows, and I'll tell her, and then she'll just walk away. She doesn't know what. If I say the Panthers are winning by a goal, she has no idea what that means.
That's the sport that my daughter loves, hockey.
Hockey, yeah,
she loves it. Now she's watching the other ones. Now that she's gotten older, she's starting to watch the other ones. But hockey is the one that she really enjoys. All right, what do you got going on in the Herald, my man, so folks can check you out?
Yeah, so I wrote a story this morning that posted on the Herald website about Udonis Haslem. Udonis Haslem is going to be on the TNT broadcast tonight in studio in Atlanta. So that'll be kind of cool to kind of see what he has to say about it's going to be kind of weird too, because he's been, last 20 years on the roster, such an important voice for the team.
An icon.
So to see him kind of talking from a quote unquote neutral position of a studio analyst and talking about the Heat's roster and different things like that, I'm interested to see how he kind of handles that. But it's cool. I spoke with him and he said he's excited about it. He did some work for CBS Sports HQ. He's doing some stuff for TNT. He wants to keep doing it. He has a few offers that he's thinking about. So I think he's going to be around the team a lot this season. He still wants to be around the team a lot, but he told me, he's like, look, Dwayne was still a TNT broadcaster when he was with still with the, part of the Jazz ownership. Who else? Grant Hill works on NBA TV. He's part of the ownership group with the Hawks, and he's obviously Team USA basketball too.
Yeah, they'll slow walk you, bro. They'll make sure they don't put you in positions.
Exactly. So even if he eventually does become part of the Heat organization again, he still wants to do broadcasting. He has an interest in it. So I think he'll be good at it. He's very charismatic, so that'll be interesting to see tonight.
I'd love to see him on a Heat broadcast. There you go. That would be a lot of fun.
I asked him that. He said he's not sure because when he deals with the Heat, when he's in the Kaseya Center, he says he wants to be around the players. He wants to move the needle. So he's like, I don't know if I want to be a part of a broadcast with the Heat because when I'm dealing with Heat stuff, I want to be actually helping the team.
Right.
So,
right. Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. Follow him on Twitter and check it out at the Miami Herald. Anthony_Chiang. Anthony, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Big O. Have a good weekend.
You got it. There you go.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.